Look, I need you watching our backs. You're a better shot than I am.
Huh, really?
No?
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Gears of War 4 Insane Difficulty video walkthrough. This is Act 3, Chapter 5. It's the elevator to hell. So, you know how all games have a certain moment, a certain realization that you're doing something for a little bit longer than perhaps you wanted to be doing it, and you start to feel the gaminess of it, and you kind of want it to move on to the next thing? The outstaying its welcome flavour has flooded your mouth, and you would like something else. Well, this is the only part of the campaign where I felt that. And it's because it's essentially, it's horde mode now. This entire level is designed to be a horde mode section. And you can kind of tell that it's going to be that... Oh, that was not good. Oh, that was good, my bad. I thought I did that by accident. I didn't, I'm smart. Apparently, when you go towards that switch, you get attacked by juvies, and I knew about this, and I'd forgot about this in the commentary, so I'm so glad I knew on the game. So I chuck a grenade, I make sure I've got my Gnasher out, and then I introduce them to the concept of Gears 1 multiplayer. Which ended quite quickly, much like Gears 1 multiplayer, so there you go. So, you can tell by the setup here that there is a lot, and this guy won't stand still and take my sniper rifle. There you go. There's a lot of resources, they're buttering us up, they're fluffing us in every conceivable way, which tells me that something's going to kick off. And then you confirm it by finding a fabricator. Whenever you find a fabricator, you have to defend it. Every time. And I only have really one issue with this area. One issue that's compounded into a few criticisms, shall we say. The fabricator defensive moments feel designed for 4 people. In a game where you cannot play the campaign with 4 people. So it just kind of highlights this massive feature that Gears of War 3 had, that they removed for this. So it kind of feels like they had the... At this point, when they were making the scenarios, they didn't realise that they were going to limit the multiplayer. And then afterwards, they limited the multiplayer, so this section screams 4 people covering all different areas with traps backing them up, doing what you do in horde mode. And it would have been awesome. This is the level that when I played, I was like, I can't wait to play this with my friends. And now, I can't wait to play this with my friend, because I know that the campaign is limited, and it's a bad excuse why it's limited. And speaking of limitations, because you can't move quickly in these moments, when you do start getting timed between waves, there's not a lot you can do. So what I chose to do, which is a strategy I quite enjoy, is I'm going to put so much razor wire at the front of this room that not even God could crawl in here. And if my team would stick with me and stick in this room, they would have maximum success, because all they would have to do is melee the enemies and we would win. But they don't. So instead, I'm going to do a lot of work, I'm going to do a lot of watching them, and they're going to do a lot of dying. And the strategy is simple, guys. If the enemies jump through the windows, they will start moving through the wire, and they cannot shoot you while they do that. If they come through the door, they have to move through the wire. Because we have about 4 tracks of wire, they have to move for quite a large amount of time without being able to do anything, and you can just shoot them like fish in a barrel. So this sets up a really great scenario. And later on, when we get more of the currency to use tools, we can build a turret behind us. And that way, we get covered without even having to shoot. And it's a really easy way of doing it. But the team just, like, they do not accommodate for any of this. And because I can't say, get behind me, or something like that, they never will. So instead, they're going to distract a lot of things, they're going to get downed, they're going to extend these moments, and then you're going to see what my strategy does, which the juvies can't get to you here. They can't. And because they're focused on getting to me, they don't attack the wire. So they don't even damage the very thing that stops them from getting to me. And I get free reign to shoot them, and I'm never in danger. And I don't even need to shoot them, because they're taking damage from the wire. If I put on my snub, all I have to do is hit them, and they'll explode. Because the wire does passive damage. So these creatures can't do a thing. Because they cannot get to me, and they're dead before they do. Like, it's the ultimate strategy of dump a bunch of wire and maximum benefit. And I run out to revive them because at this point I didn't know whether or not they could die. I wasn't too sure on if they could fully bleed out, so I didn't want to test it. But like, look at this. When have you ever seen this many juvies running towards you when you've not been in danger? It's such a powerful position, it makes you wish you could pull out razor wire at any time. And I think portable fabricators could make this game really interesting if you could have, shall we say, a more limited supply of resources that weren't as ridiculous as the things that come out of this big old box of tricks. But I think that the fabricator idea is a step in the right direction of adding something to the game. Because I always like the idea of, in the COD campaigns, and I know this is like sacrilegious to compare the two or to mention, but I'm gonna anyway, how you could play the game shooting, running and gunning like a normal person, and if you wanted to, you could press something on your watch and guide a missile down. Or mess around with your little tablety thing and start controlling a gunship. And it always felt great because those games felt great in those moments. And I always wondered why other games didn't apply those on-the-fly strategic moments. And Gears could do that now, couldn't it? You could be in the heat of battle, you could notice a bunch of shotgunners running your way, and you just tap on your fabricator on your wrist and boom, you get a nice piece of razor wire, you dump it, and they have to get through it. Like, just on-the-fly bits of strategy. It reminds me a little bit of the accessories in in Halo 3. You know how you could use the bubble shield and the life stealer and then the healer one, and there was just a handful of things you could have that you could pull out in an instance and turn the tide of a situation. And I like those designs, I think they're interesting. So for this wave, I'm going to extend a little bit more razor wire because my wire's untouched in the room. I don't feel the need to put any more of it, so instead I want to put a little bit of it out here to help defend the Goombas, as I call them, which is my stupid team. And all my team has to do is stay in this room with me. They really do. But they don't. They never do. Like, it's funny, right? There's a level called Powerless. It's on Act 4, and it's one of my least favourites in the game, because there's a firefight where Marcus will literally stick his fucking fat head in front of your gun, regardless of where you are, the entire time. It's a nightmare. It's the worst design ever. And it's ironic, because he's the fourth man in a four-man team in a game with two-player co-op. Fuck you. Fuck everyone who made you and decided this. Your story is dog shit. It doesn't deserve focusing. Co-op would not have ruined it. So instead, I have to contend with your stupid ass, dumb bullshit AI who sticks his fat neck everywhere I need to be, and I spend an entire firefight fighting Marcus rather than the things fighting me. And it's a nightmare. And at the time, all I wanted to do was push forward and get away from him because he was pissing me off. But if I did it, I got rushed and killed every time because I was too close to the locust, and being close to the enemy is dangerous. So you have AI blocking doorways and it's miserable, and all I wanted, guys, was them to move, to leave me alone, because they were getting me killed, they were making me mad. I must have put a full clip into Dell just because of how pissed off I was after the fight, and it's in the guide, so you're going to see it. And then there's this moment where all I want them to do is do what they do on that firefight, and they won't do it. And it's just that weird thing of, why? Why does it always work like that? Why does the one time you want them to be assholes, are they off being advantageous MacGyvers, and the time when you need them to fuck off, they just, for some reason, you smell nice today, and they won't. Like, by the way, this is when the drones start turning up. The drones are way better at killing your team than the juvies, and when the drones start charging you, because they take so much damage, you need to start killing them early, because if you don't, they'll get in the room. The drones are the only threat here. Once again though, guys, if you have a better weapon than the Lancer, you have a bigger weapon or grenades or something, feel free to pull those out at the last moment. But for the most, the Lancer will get you through this wave. And this isn't actually that tough of a level up until one of the spawns that I think is challenging. And it's only challenging because your team dies almost instantly and you have to fend off a bunch of just standard drones. And I don't know the name of them in this one. Look at that guy go. Just jibs him and starts doing those shotgun cocks. And you'll notice they like hitting that middle bit of cover. They all kind of congregate there, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to put some grenades there on a later wave. But do you see what I mean? This is a moment where my team is being smart. My team is sticking to the best place they can stick. That was unfortunate. That's the only flaw in this plan. If the Grenadier decides to toss a grenade into here, he can do insane damage to the fortifications, and then the plan fails. So my advice, when you see that cheeky bastard who likes to swing that grenade, you put him down, because he's the only person who can challenge this moment. I also have a torque bow for when things get bad, so I will pull that out if need be. There's another grenade. Yeah, like, the Grenadier is the only dude here who's even making a difference, and I think he's about to push forward, so I'm gonna hopefully kill him. I think that was him. So keep on shooting. You can always tell when the wave ends because it'll ask you to fabricate, and you'll get a time limit, so don't be thinking you're clear just because it's gone quiet. There's still more. Look at this, by the way. Did you see that? I got blood on my character as if I'd taken a hit, like just then. Because that's how accurate their shotguns are. He hit me from that range while inside cover, and it didn't do damage because I wasn't technically vulnerable, but the pellet still found me, so it showed the animation of me taking the hit. That's a Locust rushing too. See that? Guy's a bitch. That's really lucky. It's one of my favourite parts of the guide, that. He tries to punch me, it misses, and I hit him with the Lancer. But that's the end of that wave. So it's now time for the next one. So that just there was the checkpoint, and the video didn't sync us as nicely as it could have, but you'll notice that Kate's line did. She said, "Seems like we really kicked the hornet's nest," which is a nice way to clue in that you're at the same checkpoint that you were before. And it's one of those nice parts about Gears, when it comes to editing things like this. You know, the audio plays to tell you at what phase you're at, and it's an easy way of notifying yourself on what's coming. So I know now that once I've set up my defences, which is what you just witnessed then, just replaced a little bit of wire and put a turret down to see if it makes a difference, I know that when this begins, to my right there's going to be a spawn of drones with juvies. I think the juvies come first, and then to my left there's going to be another spawn of juvies with drones, and then there's going to be a final spawn of both. For the two right and left spawns, I'm going to be a little bit more proactive here. And then for the final one, I'm going to go back to my strategy that you've witnessed so far, which is to just chill in that room with fortifications. You'll also notice that there are things to drop here that can potentially help you out. I don't know if you can drop it, but one would think you can. You can drop almost everything else in this game. And you can hear the scream of the juvies, which signals their arrival. And then here they come. So because of the distance, I recommend you use your rifle first, and then if they start getting a little bit crazy, because they can jump up here, they don't have to use the conventional stairs, so you can then proceed to just hit them with whatever you like to deal with them up close. In this instance, I would favour the torque bow, because the torque bow is an instant kill. Now that there are a couple of grubs and I have 12 torque rounds, I'm going to start thinning out the numbers. Hit the drones with a couple quick hits. As long as you hit them, it's an instant kill. It always has been. Unless you're fighting a boomer or something, but for the standard guys, as long as you tag them with this, you will kill them. It's one of the consistent things about Gears that I've always appreciated, and I like the torque bow a lot. I'm not as good as I used to be with it, but there was a time where I was quite the terror with this weapon, and hopefully I'll be able to get back to those times, because I intend to play the multiplayer on this game quite a lot. Oh, this is scary. Look at this. What the fuck? How am I alive? Maybe he was rushing to try and punch me or something. Anyhow, it further extends the proof that you need a little bit of luck sometimes, guys, when it comes to surviving in Insane. But now that we're in here, the reason that this works is because, of course, the wire slows them down, and then the turret melts them as they're moving through the wire. And if the turret doesn't melt them, which I can't imagine a planet where it wouldn't, you can help. So I'm going to start off with the snub to try and maximise on some ammunition, because I know this is a long wave, and we're just going to take our time. We're going to get dug in deep like an Alabama tick. We ain't got time to bleed, and then we're going to get this shit done. Same kind of moon, same kind of jungle. But there are two instances left in the game where this kind of thing happens, and they're both tricky. This one is kind of standard. The people were walking really slow then because we're getting through the wire, if you're wondering. They weren't giving us a head start or anything, it was the wire. This one is more fun than difficult because there's a defensible position and you feel like you're in a PowerPoint. The second one is killing time, and that one, you do not feel like you're in a power position. Every moment feels like a risk, and the checkpoints there are some of the worst in the game. I've put up a fail video, and I did not show you the fight that preceded the fail. And the only reason you're going to remember that video or remember that sequence when you play on Insane is because you have to do the fight every time just to get to it. It's like, imagine having to do one of the skirmishes on the train at the end of Gears 1 before you fought Ram every time Ram killed you. Can you imagine having to fight five or six locusts? Well, technically, if we're going to be comparable to that part of the game, imagine fighting maybe 20 locusts before fighting Ram every time you had to try Ram. You probably wouldn't have done it, would you? And if you did, you'd have definitely got him stuck behind the rock, because Ram is a boss that kills you almost instantly from almost any distance for bullshit reasons, because it's just the game. Those creatures, everything they do one-shots you, and they can one-shot you from some really bullshit range with that flame breath. It's just like, oh, I'm 30 meters away from you, bleh, you're dead. And it's not slow. They don't rear back and be like, hang on a second, you see my gullet? I'm gonna breathe fire, you might want to move. They do bleh, like mid-sentence, like, have you seen this really pretty, bleh, and you're done. Like, that's it. And it's an instant kill, unless you're on pretty much the outskirts of it, which means it wasn't aiming at you, which means you weren't in danger anyway. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And it's hilarious too, because the strategy that I figured out for that section, which you're going to love me for, guys, I almost guarantee that it's one of the safest places I could find. It also made the next wave, which I assume the developers think is easier, or sorry, more difficult. It made it easier, because the enemy that comes later on is a more fair enemy, if you know how to dodge the projectiles, which is the carrier, which is essentially a big gorilla that fires nemesis at you. But the thing with the nemesis is, if you can put a roof above your head, they can't get you. The entire point of that projectile is that when you're in cover, it goes over you and lands on you, so it still gets you, so you kind of do the whole, wow, I can't even go in cover against this. But if you're in tall cover, it can't do it. And that's where the weakness was. So that's how I managed to find the strategy that you're going to see. And it's going to enable us to get through that section, but like, those enemies, they take such a beating. I can't compare it to anything else, because there hasn't really been anything that exists in Gears like that. Like, I'd like to compare it to Maulers. But the Maulers didn't take this kind of damage. If you were hitting a Mauler, you were hurting him, because his shield existed to stop you hitting him. Like, if you were shooting his leg, you could do him with like 1 to 2 clips of the Lancer. I've put 5 clips into the Snatchers, and then all my snub, and then all my Nasher, and then all 3 or 4 grenades, and they've still kept coming. Like, you can't do that to boomers. Boomers would die. Boomers would die really quickly. You can headshot boomers. Like, it reminds me of the brutes from Dead Space, where you're just like, is this fucking thing still alive? It feels like that. Like, insert, you know, the hunters in Halo, where you're just like, wow, I'm hitting this guy in his pink bit, or his orange bit, or whatever it is, and he just won't go down. He won't go down, dude. I'm shooting his neck, I'm shooting his groin, I'm shooting his neck, I'm shooting his groin. Die! And that's what it feels like. But in Gears has always been a really spongy game, so when you get bosses and enemies or sub-bosses that are even spongier, it's just like, what the fuck is this? Like, the closest thing I can compare it to is the Brumak. But the Brumak on the first game, if you played the PC version, all you did was shoot the boom shot at it like 3 times and it died. You know, you had to destroy its guns and then destroy its rockets, and it was done. It was actually kind of simple. You just died really fast. The Brumak in Gears of War 3 takes a bit more of a beating, but still doesn't give you the full appreciation of just how shitty these enemies are. But speaking of new enemies, you have 2 Pouncers now, and they're going to be running around causing havoc. I do not think they can jump on this tiny fence I'm on, but do not doubt what they can jump on, because they might jump on it. And right now, at that kind of range, he can one-shot you, so you want to be real careful. That was not a good talk shot from me, unfortunately. But do you see the turret? The turret is railing this dude, and he's not doing a thing. That was the ultimate way to deal with those guys. Lure them here, let the turret shoot them while you just sit there and watch them bleed. It's not very nice in the grand scheme of, you know, altruism, but fuck these creatures. They're evil. Look at it go! I don't know why I'm wasting talks, because, you know, one thing I've noticed with this game that's really different to some Gears is you don't seem to reset weapons when you die. So if you carry a bunch of no ammo into a zone and you're expected to kill a bunch of things, you better find a gun, son, or you're not going to get anything. And in the old Gears it wasn't like that. You know, I usually talk a little bit about my legendary snub run, which This section sucks dick, by the way, guys. Take it slow and ignore the noise. The noise is going to make it seem like you've only got 5 seconds to do this, but you have enough time. So be slow, don't be reckless, and try and grab people, because it really helps here. Before I had Xbox Live, all I could do was play Gears of War Campaign. It was the only game I had on the 360, so I played it a lot. So because I'd beat the game a bunch on Insane, and I reckon I was pretty good at Gears, I did an Insane run using only the snub. So the rules were simple. I was allowed grenades, I was allowed the chainsaw for defense, but the only gun I could fire outside of the Hammer of Dawn mandatory kills was the snub. And I got all the way up to the emulsion pump station at the end of Act 3, and I died by a torque bow, and it spawned me with a Boltok. Because that's just how the game worked. A lot of games work like that. This game doesn't, and you can't rely on it because it doesn't refill your ammo and it doesn't give you guns you didn't have, so you can use that to your ability to carry weapons between zones, and it's a good strategy, and I'm going to talk more about it in the next video. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope the videos are helping, and you take care now.